like when I was reading your book, there are so many things you mentioned. Even just 5 minutes, last 5 minutes, you mentioned that when you start getting nervous, you start touching like your nose. There's some
Oh, the
behavior,
self-touching. Yeah, for sure.
and I watched my previous videos, and I
Yeah.
noticed that. Yeah, I noticed that now I'm controlling myself because I know, like, okay, now there's an important question coming up. I'm recording stopping myself to touch my nose. Like that's my kind of thing. So yeah, brother, like it's again like it's very impactful, not for the public speaking, even for one-on-one conversation. So
So
yeah.
Harpreet, confidence is a physical action. I
Mm.
believe that confidence is a physical action. And if it's a physical action, it means you can practice confidence even when you feel nervous, because you're always going to be nervous. The truth is, listen, audience, there's no such thing as overcoming nervousness. There's no such thing. You're always going to be, nervousness is natural. You're going to be in a high stress situation. Of course, you're going to be nervous. Of course, you're going to get sweaty.
Yeah.
So breathing won't help you. Doing visualize, none of that stuff is going to help you. If you've ever done it, you know it doesn't work. You're always going to be nervous. So the secret is not being nervous. The secret is physical practice, so you don't look nervous even when you feel nervous.
Wow. I
So you're talking, and once you start becoming aware of it, I had, when I wore suits, I used to always button and unbutton my suit. That was my thing. And I was like, that's a tell in poker. A repetitive action, repetitive self-touching is a sign of nervousness.
yeah. Touching things, massaging hands.
And
Yeah.
it's not that you do it once, it's when you do it over and over in a repetitive way. Because repetition is a sign of nervousness. It's a tell. Repetition is not natural. Think about it. If you're just chilling out with your friends, you wouldn't be going
No. Yeah. Nah, we won't do that normally. Yeah.
over and over and over. You might do it once or whatever, like, okay, cool. But it's only when you're nervous that you start going
Do.
repetitive actions. Yeah. That's a
Do.
tell in poker a lot that they look for a lot. Fingers and toes, especially. It's always in the fingers and toes.
Do,
That
man.
people most people don't notice.
You want like you're saying that confidence can be learned through practice. So
Because
let's
that's what
be
I did.
honest,
I
that
learned.
yeah, you learned. And okay, there's so many people out there, and I have talked with so many people. It's like, and I'm gonna put myself into their shoes and say, Ivan, like you are saying that you learn confident, but no, like you are born confident, man. Or the lady, she can give presentation. She can give presentation, amazing presentation in front of board person, chairman, president. I can't do that, man. Like I don't know how to do it. Uh, and then you mentioned again in the book is that just put yourself into stressful situations. Get
Yeah.
closest on your hand, like when you exercise. Be more comfortable with that, man. Like, please talk to me more about that one.
So one of the things I always say is that most people practice mumbling to themselves in front of a mirror,
Yeah.
mumbling to themselves on their computer, mumbling to themselves in the bus or in their car, and then you have to do your presentation for real, and none of it helped. You still mess up. Because the only way to practice is by with the stress of being watched. You have to replicate the nervousness that you're going to feel when you present, when you're practicing. So you're still going to feel nervous, but you build a calluses to nervousness. Do you know calluses, the tough
Yeah,
skin?
I have like I exercise. Yeah.
Yeah. So you build the calluses. The same friction is there. The same nervousness is there, but
Yes.
you built a tough skin so that it doesn't affect the way you do things.
Mhm.
So I have built, so for example, here's what I tell people to do. If you're working on a presentation or you're working on a job interview, practicing by yourself will not help you. It just won't. You can start that way, but if
Yeah.
you want to get ready, you have a couple of options. I'm going to give you two options. Option one, and there's more in the book, but option one, you go up to a friend, a significant other, and you be like, hey, can I practice a few things in front of you? And they'll be like, yeah. And you'll go like this. Okay, hold on. Give me a second. Give me a second. Good. Because that's what would have happened in your presentation, but now you're preparing for it.
Yeah.
Do that 2 to 3 times in front of your friend and it stops happening. Then find someone else and do the same thing again, because what you're going to notice, you're going to stumble again. The more different people you can practice in front of, the more you'll prepare. So you build the calluses. Every time you will be nervous, every single time. But every time you do this, it won't affect your delivery. It'll affect your delivery less and less and less. Give you an example. I'm what's known as a distinguished Toastmaster. Many years ago, I got my distinguished Toastmaster certification. That's like the highest Toastmaster thing. And my first thing that I ever did in Toastmasters, the first thing I ever did was I had to tell a joke. I had to get up in front of everyone and tell a joke. And so what I did is I called a friend and said, hey, can I tell you a joke real quick? This is like an hour before I had to do it. And they were like, yeah. And I messed it up. When the first time you tell a joke, you mess it up.
Yeah.
and then, okay. They're like, yeah, I guess it's okay. I was like, thanks so much. I called like 9 more people.
Just before the presentation.
Yeah, like an hour beforehand. And I was like, hey, listen, can I try this joke in front of you? Because every time I tried to do it, like it was even on the phone. This is like 15 years ago. The second time, it was a little easier, but I still messed it up. The third time, I didn't mess it up, but I didn't deliver it good. The fourth time, better. Fifth time, by the ninth friend I called, I was like, hey, can I tell you a joke real quick? And I was killing it. So when I had to do it there for the actual meeting of Toastmasters, yes, I felt nervous. But it was the same feeling I felt when I was with my friends on the phone, and I was used to it. I had built a calluses,
muscle memory
to deliver it better. Yeah. The second tactic, because that's a long one, the second tactic is the hardest, and I talk about it in the book. If you have no friends, you're totally alone, you got no time, you got nobody to call, you got to go outside where people can see you, and you have to say it out loud.
I read it, and when I read that, like you put someone in front of the intersection, man, and deliver a speech. I can't, like, I thought of putting myself into that situation, and
just the thought of it, right? Just the thought of it already gets you going.
Oh, it's scary thought. Like, it's in just in front of intersections, you see so many people out there, and you were standing 20 feet apart, and you wanted him to like deliver speech so you can hear it from that, man. Oh, it's even now, like, it's a scary thought, but if you can do that again, like, it's gonna be, you're definitely gonna deliver a speech, a good one.
You know what else? I mean, and it doesn't have to be extreme. That story, yes, absolutely. And that's a true story. Young and Bloor, for anyone who's listening, it's like Times Square, one of the Times Squares in Toronto. You know what I mean? It's a super busy intersection, very popular place, touristy kind of place too. I'll give you another example. Sometimes it doesn't have to be in a busy place. Just go outside just walk around the block of your house. You might not even see anyone, but just being outside, you'll be like, hello, everyone. Like, you'll get so self-conscious. Good. Because that's how you're going to feel when you do it for real. And the more you do it, the easier it gets. I'll give you another example, Harpreet. When I'm not teaching communication skills and stuff like that, I am also if you Google my name, you will see that IMDb Pro comes up. IMDb. Because
you are also a Hollywood actor, brother.
In the past year and a half, I've been working on doing voices in a video game. It's going to come out next year. I can't talk about it. I had to sign an NDA, but it's either Xbox or PlayStation, and it's a very famous video game that most people, if you play video games, you'll know it. I'm doing a lot of voices for it. Harpreet, believe me when I tell you this, Harpreet. I'm in a sound booth with like 5 people. It's super nerve-wracking, right? There's people in LA, in Montreal, in Toronto, in New York, all over the world. And they're listening to every tiny word. Ivan, you said, hey, let's go. Can you put just like a half a second in between hey and let's go? Just like a half a second. Like that's how specific it has to be. Super nerve-wracking, very stressful, right? They're in a sound booth and no one, you can't tell if they like it or not. Sometimes it's like, okay, let's move on. And you're like, is that good or bad? I don't know. Very stressful. Believe me when I tell you. The sound recording studio is about an hour away by walking. I walked all the way there saying all my lines out loud by myself like a crazy person.
Out loud.
Yes. And it's not like it was like it's like an action video game. So it's like, kill them all. Now, I wasn't screaming. I was walking down the street going, kill them all, kill them all, kill them all, kill them all, kill them all. Get them. Come on. Who's that? Get him up. And I'm just reading my lines out loud. And every single time someone walked by me, I felt like I was like, oh my God, I'm kidding. I felt it. But what happened when I had to go into the sound room and I had to do the lines, I felt that same nervousness,
Yeah.
But because I'd been feeling it for an hour, calluses, it did not affect my delivery.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's two ways to practice: in front of
Man,
someone else or outside where people can see you,
man, like Ivan,
even if
like
there's
you,
not people around.
it's completely like resonate with me. I didn't go that far, like standing in the intersection. But like when I came here, I came in Canada 3 years back,
Yep.
and English is my like third language, and I wanted to improve. Like I know English on paper, but I couldn't speak in front of the people. So, you know, like what I did, I went joined the Toastmasters because in that way, like you can talk to so many faces. But after that, I talk with so many strangers. I talk with strangers on the road, like on the bus stop. I didn't have any car. I rode bus so many times. I talked to strangers, just 2 sentences, 3 sentences, and that gave me like confidence. Okay, I can talk. And now, like even like I never met you before. I couldn't even imagine like I'm gonna talk with someone like. But now I'm getting into it. I can
And it's a
improve
good
more,
job.
but this is, yeah, like practice with strangers. You're definitely gonna go there, brother. Like that's what I believe. And really,
You know, when I and it's what you're saying is exactly right. You go up to someone, excuse me, what time is it? Even that, you'd be like, holy shit, here I go, here I go, here I go. Excuse me, what time is it? Like it freaks you out.
yeah,
Um, when I was learning French, I remember the first line I said, I don't want a bag. People would always ask, I go to the store, you want a bag? And I would be like, no, I don't want a bag. I'd freak out. And I remember the first time I said it in French and the person understood me. And I was like, holy shit. Because, well, the first time I ever tried it, I messed it up. And the person was like, I'm sorry, what? And I was like, I don't want a bag. I freaked out.
yeah,
But I kept doing it. And the first time I did it, and they're like, okay. I was like, that's because that's stress. And I remember, so in Canada, there's this kind of thing. It's a bursary program where Canadian citizens who are English language people, the government will pay for you to do 5 weeks of French immersion. And
Mhm.
French people, the government will pay to do 5 weeks of English immersion to encourage, they'll pay for everything except travel to encourage bilingualism. And I was there and I was trying to get my French better.
Yeah,
And I met all of these other students who had been in French immersion their whole lives, but only in school. So we would go out, and I did just basic French in school, but I'd been living in Montreal. So I'd been speaking French. I had a girlfriend who barely spoke English, you know, and my French was terrible, but I was very confident talking bad French. And these people had been speaking French their whole lives, but only in school. I was only on the street. And we would go out to a bar and they'd be like, Yvonne, could you order for me? I'm like, dude, you speak French. It's like, yeah, but you know, I feel they couldn't translate from just reading to actually in person. That's exactly what you said, practicing with the stress of being watched.
I know,
What do you think of
man.
that story?
I have met few people like that even in the Toronto. Like they know French. They were born citizen here, but they only know French because of high school. Like, and after
They
that, they
can't
never
speak it.
spoke after. Amazing, brother.